What a crazy week it has been this last. So, yeah. Anyway, we were just kind of talking about how everything has gotten a little bit sideways. Oh man, I didn't lose you again, did I?
No, I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
listening. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Um, Not super crazy. The markets are doing whatever the markets are doing. Um, you know,
Uh,
Furlough is still a question.
yeah, indeed. Just a quick update there. Our man here, he does have a couple of weeks yet before it's a danger, so we won't be able to stay too late tonight. But as we were discussing before we got on here, it's like the shutdown and everything, kind of tick tock as we're on the coming up on the dawn of the first day, as it were. But what what's happened here is where normally you'd have narrative control by let's just say roughly the left, they'd be able to get people pretty much behind whatever they're talking about. Like they'd be falling into this narrative of it's the Republicans' fault, it's the Republicans' fault. But there's so many people that are just so very tired of this. Black people too. I've seen some amazing videos from a bunch of black people that are like,
Yeah, it
where,
turns out black people are a lot more based than most people thought.
yeah, yeah. There's some people that just want to live their life, and man, I gotta say, I can respect that. There's a place for people like that in America. That's the kind of people that built America, or at least the kind of ethic that did, at the very least. But beyond that, what I was saying there too, with the Democrat or leftist kind of narrative machine, normally would have complete control over something like this and would just run with it. Everybody would be like, "Well, yeah, it is those Republicans, it is," but you've got people in the ghettos that are like, "Nah, I've been voting this way for forever, and this is how it always happens when they're the ones in charge here." And and they're like, "Well, just look at the numbers. They control this and this." It's like, okay, and they're all saying, "Yeah, we want to open things. We want to get this going. We want to make sure that people are taken care of." And and that message is actually finally resonating with people, surprisingly enough. It might be because it's at least a little bit more genuine than maybe it's ever been prior, but either way, it's something to see.
Well, I think again, like we were talking a little bit before the show. I think the bigger problem that Dems have is their argument has not been for the middle class, and it's not been for America. It's not been for Americans. It's not for working people. It's like all of their argument boils down to a whole bunch of people who aren't working, like the Obamacare subsidies. It's all taking money and subsidizing a small proportion of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that you have to ask is, why are you doing that, right? Like maybe it makes sense to sit there and subsidize a small portion of the population. Maybe it does. But the reality is that money comes from somewhere. And so when we turn around and we find out that we have 1/8 of the country is receiving SNAP benefits, and we go into the Walmart and we see them with their carts piled high with food, the other 7/8 of America is like, okay, that's a problem. And most of us know someone or have experienced somebody who has abused those benefits. And so like we know that there's waste, fraud, and abuse in that system. How are there so many people on there? It's one thing if it was a very few number of people who were on the program. It's another thing if it's 42 million people on the program. Obamacare subsidies is another one. That's like 10 million people. It's a very tiny, like the entire all of the rest of us are having our healthcare go up, but we're supposed to subsidize this tiny fraction of people who aren't getting employer sponsored health coverage. And you're like, well, why aren't you getting employer sponsored health coverage? Well, that's because they're not working. Some of them are retirees or early retirees in before Medicare kicks in, or some of them are just on the lower income side of things where they're not covered by Medicaid. They're making too much money for Medicaid, but not enough money to like work somewhere else. So like it's a very small number of people that are actually affected by this, and they're holding up the entire government for that. And so this all of this messaging is working, I think, against the Dems because they keep on saying we want to provide health care for Americans. Well, I'm not getting the benefit, right? We
Yeah.
want to provide SNAP benefits for Americans. Well, I'm not getting the benefit. And this is, the the Republican message is very simple. Like, we don't want to spend money on people who don't deserve to have that money. And I think that's resonating more with people, especially over the last few years that have been exceptionally difficult for everyone. And you're not like the Dems can't win by saying we're going to play Robin Hood at your expense, and that's what I think's going on.
Well, yeah, and the biggest problem with that too, even if you take the Robin Hood narrative at its most generous, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, I mean, they've completely inverted it, quite literally and objectively. I mean, you can't look at the numbers and say otherwise
Right.
without lying. I mean, obviously.
And that's I think the problem, right? Like, and what was it? I think CNN presented Harry Denton or whatever the pollster's name is. In any case, he basically came out and he said, the Dems are sitting there and jumping up and down saying that the American people blame the Republicans for that. But Harry Denton came out and said that the American people are, in the most recent poll, the GOP is more in support of the GOP uh, by 12 points, and independents are 8 points, which is actually outside the margin of error for most polls. And so you have this problem where they're like, "Yep." The Democrats are sitting there and saying, "Well, most people blame the Republicans," and everybody in America is sitting there and saying, "Yep, I do blame the Republicans for doing this, and it's a damn good thing that they are." That's a real tough battle to fight, and I think Schumer's started to get a little bit more testy about the whole entire thing. He's had a couple terse interactions because I think their internal polling is not looking good. So, how long is this going to continue? Right, and this is a very relevant question that it gets asked at my employer every day because we
Oh,
have
sure.
8,000 people that are going to potentially be going on unemployment for an indefinite period of time. And every time it comes up with my employer or at my employer, all we've been able to sit there and say is there's one of two scenarios. One, a compromise is going to happen because people want to be the holiday hero. They want to make sure everybody gets food for Thanksgiving, and they're going to finally switch and pivot to actual working people, which they haven't done this entire shutdown. None of them have.
Right.
Or, alternatively, and this is the wildest thing, that they turn around and they keep on they're waiting for election results in these local elections because that's what's going on right now, right? This Tuesday is election day, and so if it
Man,
turns
that
out that
is
the
that is
Dems have
ice cold.
it is ice cold, right?
But
um
yeah, no,
if
really,
if
yeah.
it turns out that the Dems have pulled ahead in some of these elections, they're going to take it as like over what their predicted spread would be. They're going to say that their messaging is working and they'll be able to sit there and relent a little bit. If they don't, and the Republicans are working, I think they'll relent either way, but I think they want to see like whether standing up to the Republicans is buying them anything in terms of the voting populace.
Yeah, it'll be
But yeah,
very
it's kind of
interesting to
shitty.
see, I guess, what Monday or not what Monday, what Wednesday brings. That said, if we've got any New Jersey listeners, make sure you get out there and vote. It's a very, very winnable race. Quite quite winnable. And we got New Jersey, New Yorkers, for that matter. If you can, get out there and all I can say is vote your conscience. That's what I would do, and I won't say
I
more than
am a
that.
big fan of Mom Donnie.
You don't say.
Yep.
Well, he'll be a teacher at a minimum.
You know, I remember when Obama came to power, and I'm like, ah, shit, we're fucked, right? I hope that he, I hope for the best for him. I really do. And the same thing's true for Mom Donnie. I hope, uh, I hope everything works out with Mom Donnie, and that all of his plans come to fruition, and that I'm horribly wrong. I don't think I'm horribly wrong. Because if I am correct, then New York's gonna be in a world of hurt. But let them be in a world of hurt. We always need to see. We always need to learn the lesson of socialism.
It would be a real shame for that to happen in New York. But depending on how it all plays out, then could be that the rebuilding process could be much less cumbersome after, you know? Or, I mean, there's always that documentary. Who was it? Starred Kirk Cameron as Snake. Well, anyway, the that documentary, Escape from New York, that might be what we're looking at. You never know; it's possible. On that note, though, we should probably mention the latest from James O'Keefe, which they got some nonprofit folks that were giving illegals instructions on how to vote in the NYC mayoral that's coming up, as we had just mentioned. Let me see here. La Jornada Executive Director Pedro Rodriguez tells an undercover O'Keefe media journalist posing as an unregistered migrant to, quote, vote for that guy that starts with M, despite the 501c3 regulations prohibiting political activity by tax-exempt organizations, etc., etc. They've got the whole thing on video, as, unsurprisingly, of course. So, it's one of those things, hey, that never happens. That's completely wrong, and no one would ever do that because that's illegal, and they can't do that anyway, and I'm a federal judge, and I say that you can't also update there. Yeah, I'm a federal judge, and I say that you can't demand ID, or not ID, but proof of citizenship to vote because it's already illegal. Well, what now, Judge? What now? I mean, there's your proof in the biggest city in America or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but getting it all set up as you can only imagine. And I'll throw a link in here too from a Breaking 9/11 story on that, where the federal judge is a federal judge, mind, has ruled that the executive cannot require citizenship proof on a federal voting form. And if I'm not mistaken, just over the last week, there was a SCOTUS ruling stating that all of these injunctions are bullshit. And I think that this would probably fall under that same umbrella. So I don't imagine that this is going to stand up. So we'll see there. But there's not a specific update related to it. But obviously, the whole thing's just kind of a crazy load of bullshit.
What was the SCOTUS ruling?
Lower courts can't issue injunctions against the executive office.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Well, so again, though, right? I think that you're talking about the Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Is that the where they came in and said SNAP benefits have to go?
That was the Trump versus CASA. So lower courts can't issue nationwide injunctions. Relief is party specific.
Right. No. But yes, they did that, and then I think it's tough for me to hear you for whatever reason. Your voice is coming in a little bit low on my end.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to double check here.
Oh, but yeah, it's the Trump v. Casa case.
There we go. I think I fixed it.
But it was on the stay that was going on with that, basically.
Got it. Oh, did they actually finally rule?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That it was decided June 25th, but I guess it just didn't come out until recently. But yeah, June 27th. Hold on, I'll get the actual Supreme Court docket and throw the PDF link here in staff chat, so you can check it out personally. But I'll throw it in the links below for anybody that wants to actually read over the case notes.
What was the final decision?
Oh, well, let me just go back to the summary. That's a little faster. Limited the scope of injunctions so that lower courts can no longer issue nationwide injunctions. Those will only be specific to the party that's seeking relief. So, like this one guy that's denied his ability to vote because of this law. Okay, there you go. You can vote. You're good. And instead of, that could happen in somewhere outside of this one borough in Southern California. And so that'll no longer be a thing. Beyond that, too, it will require independent litigation. So let me see here. Individuals and groups that want to challenge the law will need to file their own suits instead of class action and large party lawsuits.
Mostly class action, but it's which is good, right? Like we need to get back into doing this, and for a long time the left has basically used the courts as their way to get legislation through that they can't pass through with Congress. Hello?
Oh, sorry. I'm making quick notes on this here. That's just that it limited the decision-making power of nationwide injunctions. Can't talk. Excuse me. But also, something just kind of fun happened here just right at the end of the last month. As anybody that'll listen knows, we talk about Blackrock a lot. I wouldn't say we're big fans. We can appreciate the work that they do. Well, anyway, there's a fella. Let me see here. Do I have his first name or just his last name? Well, anyway, Mr. Brombaugh ran a telecom financing firm called CarryX Capital. And he fabricated everything, basically, from top to bottom, just completely. And then he used that fake data to scam BlackRock and BNP Paribas out of about $500 million. Oh, bank him, Brombaugh. Well, Mr. Brombaugh, congratulations on your $500 million. That's just from the BlackRock side. It doesn't really say how much was taken by way of the BNP Paribas, but either way, not a huge fan at all of those guys over there at BlackRock. So whatever.
Excuse me for a minute. My dog is attempting to swallow tinfoil.
That is not something you want to happen.
This is
all right.
Hey, drop it. Yeah? I'm gonna go cry upstairs. Get.
Note, listeners, not one use of a shot collar. Astounding. I know. But
you can say that, but fists, I think, are better. I grabbed his collar and twisted it so that he decided it was not worth his investment in that particular foodstuffs.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See, that's just being a good dog dad, or whatever the fuck the term is. Probably not dog dad. That's
master. The term is master.
Oh, that's what it is. Yes, that's right.
I am a master of that animal. It is my servant, or whatever.
True. Oh, speaking of masters, we should probably just real quickly mention that the master of Will Stancil, that would be, oh, goodness.
Arcopolis?
Well, Grok, yes, but the creator of the Will Stancil show, Linda Eustace. Newest episode is out. That would be, of course, episode 3 of the Will Stancil show. I recommend everyone check it out. It is definitely the best and funniest AI generated show ever created. Mind you, it is actually the first, but it's going to probably stand up over time. It's genuinely hilarious. And this one, they just kind of go deeper and, oh, yeah, they go deeper on the lore and, just with the mood and the style. So definitely give that one a check. If you haven't, man, it's funny stuff. I'll throw it in the staff chat here for you real quick so that you can check that out too, because it is funny stuff. All right, but anyway, beyond funny things, let's see here. We've covered that. What about the Oh wait, no, that's different. But there's this lady by the name of Cat something or other. I don't know if it's worth our time to cover it, but she's like some Gen Z or very late millennial that is getting arrested for what did she do? Like slammed her hands on some ICE or CBP vehicle up in I think Washington or Oregon. I don't know if it's really worth covering because nothing's really happened of it yet, but she's made it a big issue, like, oh, they're stifling my speech, this and that. Well, no, not at all. It's just that you were there literally impeding a government agent doing their job, and when asked to stop, you didn't, and you slammed your hands down on a government vehicle, which is kind of dumb that's the charge you can get for that, but that is the law, so, change it. What can I say? That being said, also, hope everybody had a great Halloween. Yourself as well, sir. I got some work done, but I ended up getting a little bit of candy and having a little bit of Halloween spirits, so that was fun. And so did Mr. Vance, Vice President Vance, as a matter of fact. He put out the "Can you hear the screaming" meme on Halloween day, and then for Halloween night, I think he was going for the fat club in JD, but he ended up doing the fancy JD. But either way, bless the man. He's having a good time with things, and there's a lot of people that really have not been able to handle that really well, especially the "Can you hear the screaming" one, because what'll happen with that one is the Newsom team, they are just what could you say, they're apoplectic about it, so much so, in fact, that they thought they'd post like a big own on the guy, and well, let me just read it to you. They're quote tweeting the "Can you hear the screaming" thing, and it's the Governor Newsom press office at Gov press office. Really, at Gov press office? Man, how much do they pay for that? Anyway, whatever. Yeah, it's children running through strawberry fields to escape your goons. Now, do I need to refresh your memory on what they're referring to there? Or are you kind of familiar right offhand?
No, I think you're going to have to remind me here.
Not a problem. Just a few months back, there was the bust at the strawberry farm in rural California.
Oh, yeah.
That was, in fact, an illegal grow op that was run by a bunch of illegals, and they had a bunch of child slaves. So, yeah, it's children running through strawberry fields to escape your goons. So anyway, there's rather a few people that kind of called him out on the specifics of that. It hasn't yet gotten a community note, and I don't know if it will, since Newsom's got a bunch of money to throw at problems, and very well might, because this one's got terrible optics. But a reminder there that they were, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I do remember reporting on this that they had contributed in some way to his campaign. So take that for what it's worth. Could be my faulty memory. Pretty sure I reported on it though. So yeah, there's that. And speaking of bad decisions and being unpopular, the former now Prince of England, now Mister Andrew, is somehow, which if you didn't catch the notes, he's having basically all of his titles, all of his lands, and everything. He's kicked out of the royal apartments and everything, so he's just Andrew Westminster something. But anyway, he is at this point running at a 13% approval on YouGov ratings, which is honestly kind of impressive. I mean, you'd think that'd be running even lower. But funny enough, Herr Starmer, Mr. Keir Starmer himself, they're running at 12%. So, damn, that's quite the rough one. Quite the rough one indeed. I would not want to be in his shoes at this time. I certainly wouldn't. Now here's another update on something. Jeez, I think we covered this right as it started the rollout. Do you remember Bovaer, the Gates like hormone food that they were giving to cattle to reduce their like the methane in the farts?
I saw something about this earlier today, that there's sickness spreading amongst the cows.
It is. The cows are they're finding basically that the cows will never ever produce any methane or any extra gases ever again, and it's at rather an alarming rate. So what do we have here? Let me get the link.
Of course,
here.
Bill Gates has come out and said that climate change is not a really big deal, which means he sold his stock in whatever climate endeavors he was pursuing.
Yes, he did. He's good about that. All right, so let's see here. We had a study out of the University of Lincoln, Nebraska, that said the pastures where cattle graze can capture more emissions. Oh, right. There's this on top of that. So you probably did hear about the Bovaers killing the cows, but beyond that, this University of Lincoln, Nebraska, have shown that the grazing pastures capture not only the emissions of the cows, but beyond and above that CO2. So they're taking in more CO2 overall, even. Which, I mean, would be obvious to a person who understands kind of the life cycle of plants and all that. But it's easy not to know things. And it's kind of even easier to pretend not to know, I guess. So, yeah, we got a 1-2 punch on that. So, fucking a 1-2-3. Because then you get Bill Gates there with the uppercut of, oh, yeah, so climate change, yeah, not really something we need to be all that worried about. It's not really a disaster that's coming. Isn't that funny? Funny old world. So in some other, maybe better news, some news that I know the two of us at least will appreciate. I've got an update regarding the Nintendo v Palworld suit. This one's out of Automaton, and it's looking, by way of at least Japanese attorney reporting, that no matter the result, even if Nintendo wins this, they're not going to be able to recoup a dime. They're going to be completely out of pocket. And I think... No, I don't believe we did get a report on this last week. Because in addition to that, Nintendo lost one of their very big suits, completely dismissed out of turn, That being the monster summoning ability, which that's existed since at least some of the earlier Final Fantasies, and certainly sooner if I'm remembering accurately, and I do believe I am. I think maybe there were even some Monster Ranchers before that time. Possibly.
Well, I thought their monster summoning suit was a little bit more specific as to how it was done.
Well, either way,
I do miss Monster Rancher as a game series.
Yeah, but with that, with basically all of the mechanics that got introduced or integrated into Final Fantasy VII, or was it 7? Yeah, it was 7 everywhere. But everything that got introduced in 7 with all the various mechanics, basically, maybe if Sony or if Square wanted to push this, they might be able to. But Square's never been the asshole that Nintendo has kind of made themselves out to be. And on that note, the latest Pokemon game is very meh. Runs kind of garbagey, and they made the whole thing like the whole.
Oh yeah, that was really
mesh.
funny.
It's like, what are you doing, guys? What are you doing?
Well, and then on top of that, there's like no risk.
Oh yeah, they're not doing anything innovative or interesting. It's like they're taking on Pal World, and it's like, okay, well, they didn't put a gun shop in frickin' whatever town. And I mean, come on. I understand what their deal is, what they're going for, but if you want to, you're gonna have to do something. I mean, what do you expect here? That somehow you're going to get sued by the guys at Pocket Bear for having guns in your game? I mean, I think I'm pretty sure there's a precedent of guns in video games predating Pal World, so you might be safe to go with that one. But I guess back. I guess we're kind of talking about animal abuse, so we can get on to the topic of Hassan just real quick, because there is a short update for him. I imagine you've heard about the whole, he shocks his dog, and now he's quite morose about the whole situation and how it's just spiraling for him. If not, I can give you a brief primer if you care.
I don't particularly care about Hassan and his dog, Everybody takes care of their animals differently.
Oh, that's true. Or doesn't at all.
Or doesn't,
in some cases.
Right?
Like his.
And I'm sure that his dog is better taken care of than some.
I would agree with that statement. I would agree with that. I mean, his dog is probably much better looked after than any dog that would belong to, I don't know, Mike Vick, say, for instance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or half a dozen other people.
Well, more than a half dozen, but your point is well made.
Like, the use of a shock collar, in my opinion, is not his mistake was attempting to not defend it, was using a shock collar and not being like, yes, this is a normal training tool I use with my dog. What's your issue? Right? His whole thing was deciding not to sit there and own up to it and just own his choice of training implements.
Oh yeah, he could have absolutely just said, "People, it's a shock collar. I have it set at the." I mean, we're never going to know what setting he's got it set at. He can say, "I've got it set at the minimum setting." She was just surprised by that. It's not that big a deal. They're perfectly legal. They're perfectly ethical. I am doing this for XYZ reason. But, instead it's like, there's not a shock collar. It's not this. It's not that. Then he goes and takes the thing, takes the prongs out, which we now know because of his good friend, Cutie Cinderella, that went over there right after it, just the day after it happened, looked at the shock collar and said, yes, it's a shock collar, but he removed the prongs. So there we go. We have her word on
Then
that.
why have it?
I mean, there you go. What's the big deal? Why not just own the thing, and just say I'm not a. Well, it's too late now. He's already painted himself into a corner with this thing. It's like if he didn't feel guilty, he wouldn't be acting like this. And maybe there is more to it, and a lot of people have been digging. There's this video of him jerking the tail of his previous dog, video of him laughing when Kaya there gets bit by another dog in a little play fight. Video of him, having his previous dog so badly injured by, which we talked about this one, those choke chains, they don't have sharp points. They're rounded. So for you to tear away some skin with one of those is going to take some doing on a dog. But, Hassan's got a strong grip, I guess. But anyway, that's the past.
Depends. I could absolutely see a dog if it pulls excessively to do that.
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't count it as the most likely thing, but possible. That's fair. But either way, this kind of just ties into the kind of person that he is. And what happened here? There's a lady by the name of Bak Hae that she left Vietnam under at the end of the Ho Chi Minh era, I believe, which is pretty brutal communism. And she is a literal refugee, actually applied for the status, came to a U.S. embassy, jumped through all the hoops. I believe that she has attained citizenship, although don't quote me on that. Not 100% sure. But Hassan, in seeing this lady talk about, the literal dangers of communism and a communist nation, just absolutely lashes out at her. It's not blatantly racist, but to say it's coded racism is kind at best. It's quite clear that he's pissed off at this lady because she's the wrong color saying the wrong things. And the hypocrisy is just it's just staggering. I mean, unsurprising, but just absolutely staggering. Like he completely just unloads on this chick because she has vocal opinions about communism that he not only doesn't share, they shatter his views about it. And I'll throw the link for that one too for you there if you want.
Well, I mean, everybody's allowed to have their own opinions, and so we can turn around and look at communists and be like, oh yeah, you guys are fucking wrong, and you're probably gonna kill people. But yeah, like him being upset that people challenge him, that's not particularly special. That's baseline human stuff, right?
Well, that is. But on the note of everybody having their own opinions, it would appear that Tucker Carlson cannot. Or at least cannot have any guest that he wants. Because if he has the wrong guest, obviously he's working for the communists, the Nazis, everyone except for Mossad. Funny enough. Have you caught this drama going on with the current Tucker Carlson
I watched
show
part of the interview with Fuentes and all the rest of the stuff. I agree with Tucker's opinion on interviewing people that you disagree with, right? And I've seen enough. So I will say a couple things about Fuentes. I'm not, a lot of these guys, these conservative commentators, I don't really get into that much, just because I just don't have enough time to watch everybody. Um, that's the reality of it.
Oh, yeah.
However, uh, when you look at somebody like Nick Fuentes, you watch him and he's absolutely talented. Like he's a really talented motherfucking dude. And that's very clear. He has fantastic speech patterns. He has, he has a lot of talent and a lot of the ability to sit there and stay
Yeah, he's
on
fairly
message.
funny, and he's an accomplished
He's
speaker.
pretty
I can say
funny.
that I can say that, and
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's
he
going to
definitely
disagree with
like
me unless they're
watching his
just going to be
stuff.
dishonest.
He's got like one or two things that he does as like edge lordy shit, right? So you gotta accept that like some of what he says is specifically to get the attention online. Um, but when you start talking about like some of the stuff he says, some of the stuff he says is very offensive. And so I think he believes some of it, but he doesn't seem to be entirely irrational. I think Candace Owens is actually more of a like, what the fuck is going on here? Individual when I listen to her than with him. Uh,
That's fair. That said, it is important in both cases to note that there's more to it than just that, because they might say something wild about this or that, or in the case of Candace, they might say a lot of wild things, and some of it comes through. Like for instance, I don't know if you caught this, but Macron's wife, cough, is registered under a man's name on the birth certificate in France. This has been a common claim for a while, and it has now come out. So there you go. Maybe there is more to this. Who knows? We'll see. There is an actual case going through with it, so no matter what happens with that case, it's going to be hilarious.
I mean, I wish her the best. I don't think that we'll find anything out from it. I just don't. But you know, I do remember seeing that there was some some claims that like they finally found the evidence. Yeah,
Well, that's
I
that's
think
the
it's a
only
bold
evidence I
claim.
can tell you about. I mean, from everything I understand, there isn't more than that. Short of this, I mean, there's even less there than there is of like Big Mike. There's no dances with. Well, there's no swing dances, shall we say? There's no noticeable bulges, shall we say, that I know of. So whatever. It's just kind of a weird relationship, but they're French, so yeah,
I mean, the French are the French.
Yes, yes, they are. They are most certainly. But let
I
me
uh,
just.
I I do respect their love of genitals.
Oh, you mean the restrooms with the glass fronts?
They have got a lot of stuff over there.
They do. They do.
Like the Germans are a rough, industrious people. Uh, the French are not quite as industrious, but they are prolific.
In many things, yes, definitely
Yeah.
they are. Well, anyway, reminder again: New Jersey, New York voters, get out there, vote.
Vote for money.
Uh,
I want to see what happens.
honestly, I really think that Sliwa should get the nod, but
I
Cuomo's
mean,
just a dick. If Cuomo had dropped out and done the right thing and been like, Curtis Sliwa, This is the man. He's going to lead this city into the future. Him and Eric Adams, if they'd have just been like, listen, everybody, we got to do the right thing here and get behind Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa would be the man right now, and that would be way cooler than any bullshit that Mom Donnie's going to pull off. That said,
I agree.
We might be at this, we might be at a, shall we call it a 2020 type situation where New York has to learn the lesson that somehow many other states were able to learn from 2020 to 2024. And I just hope that they are attentive and that their city isn't burned utterly to ash. But we'll see, right?
I mean, so I'll put it this way. I watched a few of Mom Donnie's approaches in the early debate and campaigning, and people are getting sick and tired of politicians saying bullshit. And when they decided to do the whole Israel thing, it was clear on two fronts. One, it was a direct attempt to antagonize him and his point of view as a Muslim. And two, it was a completely irrelevant question for the mayor of New York. And he answered it well, and everybody else failed. So that's kind of the problem that you have, is he had a
I
great
would disagree,
answer.
but my disagreement leans back into the whole Curtis Sliwa thing. So, for what that's worth.
I'm not saying that Sliwa. Well, I don't think Sliwa was running at the time.
Well, he's generally had good propositions for these questions because he's been asked them numerous times. So
yeah.
that's why I lean into that. But fucking, it is what it is, I guess. I guess, I don't know. Oh, speaking of it is what it is. Speaking of it is what it is. Back over to the, just brilliantly run and well-managed California. Speaking specifically of Los Angeles. We've got another update, as a matter of fact, regarding the area around the Palisades. And a fire that LA firefighters were told to abandon, that then reignited into the Palisades fires. So
why were they told to abandon? Have we gotten that yet?
That we do not have. Let me just double check and see if there's been an update on it specifically, and I will let you know. Let me see here. So I've got the report itself here. According to federal authorities, fire reignited, which, of course, everybody knows what happened for that. Let me see here. They had emptied the reservoir. We already know that. We know that now it was started by a guy who basically... the whole thing's just such a shit show. Oh, and update, too. Still no permits to build. Just by the by.
Not a surprise.
Yeah. But no update there. Let me see here. Firefighters were ordered to pack up and leave the area. Okay. So all I've got is that they alerted. Oh, they've got it on video too? Man. What a shit show. Well, anyway, the firefighters at the scene alerted the battalion chief that the Lockman fire was still smoldering, and then they were ordered back. Oh, that was the chief. The one that made all the bad calls. The really butch lady. So I don't know what there is to it, but she made another really bad call. Huh. I have no words. I have no words. Anyway, Let's hop back over to some interesting and good news. There's been an announcement out of Tesla. Is it Tesla Motors? I think it's Tesla Motors. Anyway, out of Tesla, that they intend to unveil their flying car before the end of the year. So that'll be very interesting because Elon has actually dropped some comments on it, stating that people are going to be surprised by its performance.
I mean, it's not necessarily so. I don't know. I would be very surprised.
Well, one of the biggest problems with flying cars has been that they've been wing based, and wings are fucking big. Also, there's a whole FAA thing, but
there's
wings
a
are
couple
fucking
different
big.
problems with flying cars,
Yeah.
and
There's
actually a lot
no
of problems
roads
with
in
flying
in the
cars.
air for cars at the moment either.
Right.
There are kind of roads in the air, but they're for planes.
The number one problem is that you're always going to be dealing with a power to weight ratio. Like, planes are designed for their engines to specifically provide the thrust and the power that they need to take off with limited actual weight, so that they are not, you know, getting hold up with things. So fixed wing aircraft is the easiest way to get lift, and so now you need to have simultaneously an engine that can drive the car as well as an engine that can provide lift to the front of the car. It's not necessarily impossible to do, but it's also not easy to do. Um, I
Yeah,
really
and
struggle
every
with the
extra
belief
engine
that
is just weight. So there's that
I
too.
really struggle to believe that a Tesla will be able to get the power to weight ratio. They are heavier vehicles,
Yeah, batteries
so
aren't light.
no.
Not with what you want to do with them.
And every single time they come up with the battery operated planes, they've got like a stupidly low number of hours of utilization versus charge time to make it happen. Like, the amount of energy to fly a plane is not small.
No. Well, there's a reason that electric planes are very uncommon, and the ones that have been made to work are basically ultralights.
Yeah, it's not just necessarily that, it's that they
That said, I think there's an electric jet that's supposed to debut next year, so we'll see.
yeah, I every single time I see the electric planes, they're nothing more than a PR stunt. And it's more of a look, we made an electric plane, and you're like, okay, congratulations, you can fly an hour north. That's not, not something that's useful to me. So I wish Tesla the best. We just had the Neo X launch, so the age of robots is going to be coming upon us very, very soon.
We should probably talk about that one. You heard the background on those, didn't you?
Oh yeah, they're
Very,
they're
very, SAR. Very best, SAR. Very best.
yeah, they are.
There
So
is no deny. No deny, very best.
Yeah.
Best on
Yeah.
market. You not do
Yeah.
better. Not better,
No.
SAR.
Yeah. So they're all teleoperated to start, at
Yep.
least. And that probably is going to be a bunch of Indian teleoperators.
Probably.
The theory is that AI will power them, and you'll eventually get to a point where AI will learn how to do basic tasks and stuff like that. I have my doubts. For the same reason I've talked about before, I'm not generally bullish on AI. Every time I'm actually trying to was earlier today learning. Our group, our program, just implemented an AI, which is basically a GPT-4 clone and like a Mio 3 clones. I don't know. We've got some sort of contract deal with Microsoft for it. and every time I interact with AI, I'm not impressed with it. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. Um, you know, but usually it comes out to, or it seems like I have to spend just as much time writing to the AI to get it to do something I want to do than not. And one of the things that I found out last year when you have a concussion is you have way more sensors than you're cognitively aware of.
Oh, yes.
And you really only notice they're missing when they get fucking damaged. So to say, hey, we've somehow mastered a robot that can go into the people space, into the meat space environment, and like autonomously do chores, I'm very skeptical of that. Teleoperated, I 100% believe. I 100% believe that they believe that our AI will learn how to do the thing. But like my household is very chaotic. I'm always doing construction work in it. I do not believe. I think that an AI robot may only work assuming that your house is static. And that is to say that it doesn't change. Everything's always in its place. It doesn't know, like, you've been to those people's houses where it's fucking immaculate. I'm not one of those people.
Relatable. I also am not.
I'm lucky that I don't have, working on a room in a house. I have to empty that room of all of its stuff. Then I have to have another room that's prepared with all of the materials that I need to go into the room that I'm working on, and that other room needs to be empty. So, like, at any given time, like, a third of my house is basically, or third to half my house is just not accessible or not useful. I don't see a robot coming into my space and being able to do whatever.
Well, luckily, my house is accessible, although I would like more of it to be usable, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of accessibility and usability, the entirety of just the one building on the east wing has been removed now, and I believe construction will begin again as of Monday. Yeah, that is the update. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's see. I've got another DC thing. Yeah. So we have out of the DOJ. Funny enough, Pam Bondi doing something helpful. I appreciate. They have declared the DC magazine ban, which basically is high capacity magazines. There's not really such a thing because it's whatever. It's a made up funny word to, like, tinfoil hat people, conspiracy theorists. It's a word to marginalize a group or a thing or a whatever, and worked for quite a while. But as we said in the beginning, a lot of these leftist narratives are falling apart, and this one has by way of the DOJ of all places. So what's going on there is DC's had this magazine ban since... shit. Let me see if this has it in here. It's been a long, long while. Let's see. Does not say. But since that does hit DC, that of course will also go up to the DC federal court and could affect, let me see, how many states are in that district? 14 states are in the DC district, so, yeah, or have similar laws. So that could be very, very interesting. So what's happened here? We have, let me see, ordered to vacate the conviction of Juan Peterson, who had been found guilty on November 9th, 2023, following a jury trial possession of a large capacity magazine feeding device. Let's see, did he challenge under Bruin? No, it doesn't seem to say here. Oh, yeah, no, they challenged under Bruin. Under Bruin and Heller, which, there you go. And what do they say here? There's over 700 million standard capacity magazines, otherwise known as high capacity magazines. So, yeah, it's done and dusted. So another one, another kind of good ruling out of DC. Things get a little bit better. And in the area, since, we're on the topic, got another one out of Virginia in this case. They've stricken down their universal background check law, which is helpful, as they shouldn't really exist. But reading a statement from Gunners of America here via Eric Pratt, this decision vindicates the rights of all Virginians to engage in lawful private firearm transfers without unconstitutional barriers. The Act's enforcement mechanism was fatally flawed from the start, criminalizing everyday citizens while ignoring basic constitutional principles. We're grateful the court recognized that patchwork fixes can't save a broken law. And then via the executive vice president of the Gun Owners Foundation, Eric Valesso, we're thrilled the judge struck down Virginia's universal background check law because it was unconstitutionally blocking young adults from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Ruling upholds true meaning of the Constitution by ensuring all law-abiding citizens can acquire firearms without arbitrary government barriers, which is exactly how it should have and always was up until things have just gotten weird lately. Now, I would be remiss if I was completely dishonest in this and just left it at that, but there were kind of, there was a social contract related to this. Like, you weren't going to be open carrying unless you were going to go out and hunt. You weren't going to be walking around with a 6-shooter at your hip. You weren't going to be walking around with your rifle or what have you, but that was also in a country that doesn't exist anymore either. So what do you do with that? The social contract doesn't exist, so the best you can hope for is to figure out something else that might work. And, well, at least we do have some laws and some courts that come up with reasonable conclusions now that we have laws that, what would you say, mesh well, or well, some at least, mesh well with our Constitution and some of our protected rights and freedoms. But anyway, on the note of the social contract, which has been utterly demolished, I've got a post here, which this is going to be helpful, really, for anybody that's going to be listening, out of our Interview Coder Pro. This, of course, is going to be for people that are trying to get jobs in the coding market or whatever. Anyway, I'll just read the thing off to you. I started calling companies and saying, I was told to call to schedule my interview. The results are insane. I was getting absolutely nowhere, and as anybody's going to know before I go into reading the body of this, as anyone knows, jobs.now, good place to check. Great listings for jobs that would be otherwise completely unlisted in all places, everywhere, and made hard for you to find. So do check out jobs.now. Matter of fact, let me just make a note of that here in the show links. Jobs.now, so that anybody can go ahead and check that out, because you absolutely should if you're looking for a good, high-paying job in the IT generally, but a number of sectors, because, well, they'll put HBNBs anywhere. Anyway, back to the body of the text here. I was getting absolutely nowhere, sending my resume into the void. After 4 months of getting ghosted by pretty much every company I applied to, I was at my wit's end. Then I had this epiphany. These recruiters are just buried under hundreds of applications. It's not personal. They're just overwhelmed and have probably lost track of who they've spoken to and who they haven't. It's organized chaos. So I came up with a new strategy. I'd apply for a job online, give it a few days to get into their system, then I'd call the main line. When I got someone in HR, I'd just say something like, "Hi, I'm following up on my application. I was told to give you a call today to schedule an interview." I'd say with total confidence, as if it's the most normal thing in the world. Crazy part is how well it's working. I've landed 5 interviews in the past 6 weeks, which is mind-blowing compared to the 0 that I got in the 4 months prior. I've tried this on...
What did he say again?
He's just calling them up. He's getting his stuff into the system, giving it like a day, 3, 5, so that it's in there and it's registered. Calling up their HR department and be like, "Hey, so I was told that I need to give you a call about scheduling an interview. Just following up on that, basically.
Hmm.
And then, well, anyway, I've tried this about 25 times now. It only blew up in my face twice. One time, the HR person was sharp and said, "Told by who? I'm the only one who handles scheduling." I just mumbled something about a bad connection and hung up. But a couple of failures for that kind of success rate, I'll take those odds any day. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, if it works, it works, you know? Maybe you gotta do a little bit of social engineering to get your job. Maybe that's what it is, because realistically, he's not wrong. He's approaching this from a very reasonable standpoint. He's not out there like, "Hey, I'm gonna get this job. I'm gonna steal it from everybody." It's like, I've been applying and applying and applying for jobs. I don't understand what's going wrong. I have to assume that something is wrong with the system, so I'm just going to work with the system. And he's not wrong. There truly is. There's loads and loads of applicants, local, foreign, whatever. So, hey, carpe diem, grab that carp by the day. And if you're looking for a job, just make sure you got, make sure you're applying for a job that you can do, or not. I mean, that does still work. You can just do things. You can just apply to places. And there are lots of businesses in lots of fields that are completely shut down that had lots of managers. All I'm saying. But do seize the initiative, because there's opportunity out there. There truly and genuinely is.
Well, power to him.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. But
I'll depending on where furlough stuff is, I might have to do something like that.
Well, hey,
soon enough.
On that very note, yeah, if you're in that situation, maybe you got to juke the system just a little bit to get it to happen. I genuinely hope, though, that'll find itself resolved before.
Well, they've pushed it to the 16th. I don't know how much more money they can find, or how much more contracts they can, decertify or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting.
It will.
That being said,
I mean, honestly, this coming week is going to be, I expect it to be eye-opening. I don't know how crazy it's going to be, but I expect some level of crazy. But the problem is there is no USAID money to make it crazier. So,
well, I mean, so the upside right now is looking at the political situation. I think there's been quite a bit of come to Jesus moments that have been happening on the left, which is pretty great, right?
Pretty necessary even. But yes, absolutely.
It is. I'm not saying it's not necessary. I'm just saying that, it is good that they are having the moments of self-revelation that let them sit there and say, hey, maybe we need to rethink how we do things. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe just sitting there and being anti-Trump to be anti-Trump isn't effective. Stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's
so. You get the Portland cops, right? The Portland cops started actually enforcing the law last week, and I think that's kind of a thing where somebody turned around and said that you will not be able to win your case if you don't turn around and demonstrate that you're actually able to enforce the law.
Well, that too. So, also, I believe that there's been kind of a rumbling up there of, do we really want to run the risk of the Insurrection Act being invoked up here? Because that's a game changer. That's overnight. People get to see, oh, you mean that there was a switch that we could have just flipped and this all ends? Because that's the other thing. Once people have seen El Salvador. People have seen Washington, D.C. For all the shit that gets talked. D.C. is a safe place for the first time in, like fucking 20 years?
Yeah, and more to the point of, like, we talked about some of that last week, but I think Bowser this week turned around and said, yeah, we've had a couple, like, an uptick in some youth crime this week, so guess what, motherfuckers, we're implementing curfew. So
Yeah.
there's, there might be, they can oppose Trump as much as they want, but the reality is there's probably a lot of people who are pro-Trump, and so now they're going to start enforcing the law.
Yeah, it's been made eminently clear that the law matters, and that no one is above the law. Well, we'll see. We'll see on that one. But trailing back to something that we had mentioned and the law, there has been something very interesting that's happening regarding the Palisades. There, the victims, the ones that. Well, actually, no, the Palisades was a pretty rich area, so there's probably a lot of money to throw at this. Anyway, the Palisade fire victims, they've come together with, I don't know if it's class action. I don't know the actual filing status of the suit, but they are suing Gavin directly for his numerous failures regarding the Palisades fires. So that's one that we are going to absolutely be keeping our eyes on.
Yeah, we'll find out.
And there's not much to that, by the way. That update, by the way, is like just 3 days old, so there's nothing really there to it yet. So once things start dropping on that, I don't know. That might be big enough that mainstream media will catch it. But even if they do, I'll be sure to drop back in on it with an update because it's it's worth doing. And here we go. I've got a note on the on that specific Pal World patent too. I'll throw it with the other one because, like I said, they did lose the patent fight on the monster summoning thing. Since there's been monster summoning since well before Nintendo made Pokemon. Did they? I can't remember if they made it or if they bought it off of somebody. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Neither here nor there.
Nintendo?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think the first platform it was released on was Nintendo.
Yeah, Game
Red
Boy.
and Blue were the first thing.
Yeah, definitely it was Game Boy. But was it an in-house studio?
No. I think
it was an out-of-house studio, and then they quickly in-housed them. I think. Let me just find out. What was the Pokemon Company history? April 98, they were established. Oh. Huh. All right. It's been an in-house thing between them and Game Freak since day one. So, okay, so it was a partnership in the beginning, and then they just in-housed them, looks like, very quickly. Maybe by 98. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, Pokemon was just blowing up after Red and Blue. It was just enormous. I mean, shit, I played those when I was little.
Yep.
Classic games. And then that, just ended up being quite the big thing.
I mean, Red and Blue was amazing.
They really were. I mean, realistically, they were kind of the... kind of like the iPhone of games of that genre, where the iPhone kind of took a bunch of things that did exist and wrapped them in a really excellent package. Because it had a couple of elements of like your Legend of Zelda, had some management, some of the party elements, kind of like a Final Fantasy, and it was all really well wrapped up. And then you got all the cool lore for all these different Pokemon and the desire to catch them all. And then you could trade between people. And there was, it really was an a genre-defining thing.
Yep.
And, well, what is it they say? Long enough timeline, you'll live to see yourself become the villain. So with that one, what I've found, personally, is not to aim to be a good guy. Just get by. If you can get by and just try not to be a bad person, I think you can get a lot more mileage without the demons reaching up to take their toll, or what have you. So anyway, I've got another very interesting thing. I think this will be. I don't know if it's right up your alley, but I'm sure you'll find it absolutely fascinating. Let me get the link here. I'll put it also here in staff chat because you are going to actually want to watch this when you get a minute. It's a really cool video. So there's a new company by the name of Xtropic, and they are building new silicon for AI, and it's processing in absolutely fascinating ways. It's basically built for probabilistic processing, as opposed to, say, I guess you'd say deterministic processing. So it's very good at those fuzzies, like it could be from here to here, as opposed to the yes, no, on, off. And being a completely different kind of architecture of functioning, it's going to require new languages, new principles, new understanding. But the long and short is a given. How would I say this? A given amount of compute power on a standard processor, as compared to the Xtropic processor as it currently is. They are at their Gen 1. They are beyond prototype. They're into not vaporware, not pre-production. Pre-production, we would say. Alpha production, we'll say. So they've got this out to a couple of testers. But anyway, the current chips, by comparison, per amount of compute, whatever that amount is, per block of compute processing power, you've got about 10,000 times the amount of thoughts that can be processed with this processor, or queries, I guess, if you like, or comparisons, perhaps. So it's orders of magnitude more powerful. And again, this is just first gen technology. They're developing their second gen, which is the one they'd like to bring to market, which they will, of course, they'll be developing that out of the feedback that they get from their users, and of course also from their own development processes on this, because this has just been released. Obviously, they're not going to just stop developing while they wait to hear back from people, because that's not what you do. You're building a new thing. You build everything you can, and then as you hear back, you add or subtract or do what you need to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the process of design. But stuff looks absolutely fascinating, and this too being a new way of processing, what we're looking at is the ground floor of Moore's Law, where we're with standard processing and processor types and architectures, we're what was it somebody said, 2030 to 2060 we're going to basically hit the wall with Moore's Law, and the only thing we're going to be able to do is just build bigger and bigger chips from there, and they're going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, where this is orders of magnitude smaller, less thermally intense. And I had a friend over just the other day, and we were talking about this technology, and he made a really great point. What we could see with something like this is something akin to the early math coprocessors that we saw as an option for a computer. So you might have your deterministic processor, like what we all know, and then you might have one of these specifically for the what abouts, the whys, the what ifs, that you might be able to just run natively. So you could run a very powerful LLM or potentially low-level AI with hardware like this and run it locally with very good fidelity. And this would again be on early chips. So you'd have your normal chipsets doing what they normally do. Like, I need to display this graphic. I need to add these numbers. I need to subtract these numbers. I need to draw these things. I need to, do these specific and deterministic things that are a yes, no, and on, off. But then you could also have it, with that third position, that not on, that not off. That kind of quantum deal, I guess. And potentially bring aspects of quantum computing not merely home, but this is just a chip in and of itself. So into your pocket. I mean, the size of the chip currently is, let me see here. You remember the kind of long AMD chips from early 2000s? Kind of wide but longer, kind of like RAM, but thicker and fatter.
Mm-hmm.
So about like one of those, but squared. Which that's not very big, especially for your first gen product. And that's with all the inputs and all the everything. The chip itself is like actual chip size, but it's got weird interfaces and everything. Again, Gen 1 technology, of course it does. But it's not terribly big. And as this technology gets understood and languages get written to utilize it and systems get created that can properly function with and around it, we're maybe looking, and that's the other thing too. It's also, again, at the ground floor, these are being made for AI and this non-deterministic computing. But what that can also mean is that, well, perhaps it can do deterministic computing. If you've got that kind of density of compute power, it's just a matter of figuring out how to utilize it in a more traditional fashion. But one of the very coolest things is this runs at flat room temperature. It will run in a hot room. And it'll perform in the area of superconductors. And that's damned impressive. So, yeah, definitely check out Extropic AI. You can follow them on Twitter, too, Extropic_AI. Really interesting stuff. If they're smart, they aren't going to go public, and they will keep that shit private and just take maybe some rounds of funding to pay back donors. That would be the smart thing to do. I hope they do that. Hope they do. Because I've seen lots of trouble when companies go public. Lots of trouble. Oh, hey, cool. I found the announcement here out of Polymarket where Bill Gates admitted that climate change will, and I quote, will not lead to humanity's demise. Golly goodness gracious gosh. Whoever could have imagined. Oh, and speaking of unimaginables, because, I've actually got more good news. Believe it or not. This one's really, really cool. So, in a literal first, we have remapped blood type in blood. Changed A to O. Out of the University of British Columbia, they altered the blood type of donated human blood type of a human donated kidney, transforming it from an A- to a universal O. I used lab-grown enzymes to strip away the sugars. Created an Created an organ that could be accepted by nearly any recipient, significantly reducing risk of immune rejection. Breakthrough detailed in Nature, biomedical engineering. I'll get that and throw that in there for you as well. But this came out just on the 20th. So the altered kidney was implanted into a brain-dead donor patient where it functioned without signs of immediate severe rejection for 2 days. Even when a mild immune reaction occurred on the third day, the organ remained far more stable than traditional mismatched transplants. Over half the people on kidney transplant wait lists are type O, making universal organs critical. Oh, that's fascinating, because the interesting thing here is if you can do it with a kidney, ground floor technologies, perhaps then those same sugars and antigens could be stripped from any other given organ and replaced with your own blood type. And, what could we do there with hearts, lungs, kidneys, obviously, but that really opens quite a door for medicine, honestly. I'm not even cautiously optimistic. I'm just genuinely optimistic. Medicine is pretty cool these days.
Some of it is.
That is
some of it is.
Yeah, okay. So, you know what? That's a really good transition. Let me see here. From the most recent Joe Rogan podcast, and I quote, "Fauci is just out there walking around. Meanwhile, they're trying to put Trump in jail because he inflated the price of a condo." So, yeah, Fauci is just a guy out there living in the world despite everything. Here we are. Yahoo. But again, it is what it is. Oh yeah. So let's see here. Let's lean into the is what it is and go ahead and give you a quick update, because I think, is this Friday we got the numbers, or was it? Yeah, on Friday. Okay, so as of Friday, at least out of the bigger companies, we have Amazon with 30,000 layoffs, 30,000 plus. Intel with 24,000 plus. Accenture with 11,000 plus. Microsoft with 7,000 plus. 11,000 out of Accenture. Sorry, reading wrong. PwC with 5,600 plus. Salesforce 4,000 plus. Meta with 600 plus. Well, I guess, we did report on that big line of layoffs that old Mark did a while ago when, he finally got the basic go-ahead. So, I guess he didn't really have that many more, dead weight peoples to get rid of. So, hey, good on you. Oh, speaking of dead weight, don't know if the weight's dead, but the weight has disappeared. So Lance Twiggs has been missing for about 6.5 weeks as of reporting. That of course being the trans lover of what's his nuts from the Charlie Kirk shooting, which we reported on that earlier.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, because the early reporting was that this person was being cooperative, and now no word. There has been apparently a sighting. Well, no, there wasn't a sighting. I think a vehicle owned by that person was seen at their parents', but apparently there was some giant fallout between him and his parents because, the usual. But I don't.
I hope they're okay.
Yeah. And there's been.
I'm not saying.
Well, go ahead.
I think there's reasonable questions that people have, but I think the other thing to keep in mind is crazies are not entirely confined to the left.
That's fair.
And
I mean, case in point, you remember the late in Trump's term, there was the guy that was live streaming. I can't remember if it wasn't to TikTok. Might have been to Periscope, and he was like, Trump, I'm praying to you. I am praying right now to you, Donald Trump. I'm praying to you to save me. While there's cops outside, they're like, open the door, and then they bust in and take him out of the car. It's like, what are you doing, brother?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? So yeah, no, it go just like that. It can go deep, deep, deep. We've got some of these Q people that are off the deep end, which is kind of even worse because there's a lot of good shit in the Q umbrella, but it kind of falls into the you're a tinfoil hat conspiracy person because you think this one thing, like the kind of like flat Earth. There's some people that are into that nonsense that actually have some useful thoughts on some other topics, but might as well dismiss them outright. But you know what else needs to be dismissed outright? The all the auto pin signatures. And I've got a little bit of news for you. Yes, I do. The House Oversight Committee has invalidated all of the auto pin pardons and executive actions.
Hold on, let's be very clear here. They don't actually do anything other than say harumph, I say.
Correct.
Right?
Now, the House Oversight Committee is just an oversight committee. They don't have legal power to really make this happen. All they can do is kind of keep funds from people, I think. So that's about all there is to it. But they have done that, and whether anyone will follow through and actually take this to SCOTUS or... I have no idea what even would be the process to fully invalidate those, if it can even be done. But, I guess they put in their registration and started the process or something, right? Anyway, it's fun. And maybe something will come of it, because it is, either way, it's like the impeachment proceedings when somebody has fucked up really badly. It's like, you do it because it needs to be done. Even if you know it's not going to go anywhere. Like the fucking Clinton impeachment for all the Monica shit. It's like, yeah, even if it goes through, what's going to happen? Well, nothing, but still, he was a lying piece of shit, so we need to at least have it on the fucking record. Well, fair enough. I'd like it if they could have the same level of honesty with Trump, but as stated, it is what it is. So yeah, there's that. Let me see here. We've got another... man, we're just back and forthing on the good and bad news. That's pretty dope. We don't normally get to do that. So, on that note, you'll remember the young Scottish lass that had to brandish a knife and a hatchet at some guy that was... well, no, not... We don't have specific evidence because it wasn't recorded. We just have testimony that he was sexually harassing her 12-year-old sister. You do remember that one, right? Out of
Ireland,
or Scotland,
absolutely.
sorry. Yeah, so, well, it turns out that there was, in fact, a Romanian grooming gang to which this fella just so happened to be a member. Whamp, whamp. And so she was quite literally defending herself against a rape gang. And not only herself, but her young sister. And to that I say, Godspeed, young lass. You absolutely did the right thing. And I will 100% every day of the week shove this right in the face of these people. But, yeah, they were jailed for the rape of 10 women and girls. Let me see here. The smirking pimp. Ugh, disgusting. Anyway. Yeah, she has been completely and totally vindicated because that man and others are in jail. Thank goodness.
I had not heard that update to the story.
Well, it's a very good one, I think. Well deserved.
It seems the place to be if you want really young poontang is the UK.
Well, only if you're royal connected or
it says foreign nationals, man.
It does. As a matter of fact, I think they've made a lot of choices over there. A whole lot of choices. As a matter of fact, they had what was it? Some whiskey or brandy I believe they had a really cool advertising campaign they were doing with Ricky Gervais, but unfortunately it was turned down.
Oh yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, what timing, huh? So they proposed this thing. The London one in the London Underground was going to say, "Welcome to London. Don't forget your stab vest." Update: the following day, after that sign was declined to be implemented, there was a stabbing in Huntingdon of 10
Like
individuals.
11, was it 11 or 10?
It was 10 individuals seriously injured, 2 suspects, now 1 suspect, an act of terror, now not an act of terror, and we're waiting for an update. Because it was 2 British nationals, but now it's 1 British national. And who even knows? I imagine that there will probably be numerous arrests for people that were on the train that said horrible things about the person that was stabbing them, because as we know, Scotland Yard has priorities. Wham.
Well then, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, another interesting one out of yeah, man, I am so glad we can back and forth these. It is not normal. But anyway, yeah. I'm told that Turkish surgeons are inconsolable and unreachable at this time with this breaking news. Actually, not exactly breaking, but very recent news. That being that Taiwanese scientists have got a. Is it a serum or is it a surgery? Okay, so scientists at the National Taiwan University. Yeah, it's a simple serum that can regrow hair in as little as 20 days. It's a rub-on formula, kind of like a Rogaine kind of deal, made with natural fatty acids when applied to mice. And also, one of the researchers applies it to his own leg. And, well, you're testing on yourself. It's not technically unethical, but there are people that say it's not. I think it's fine, but whatever. Anyway, let me see. Do we have a date on this? Source out of the New Scientist, Newsweek. No, not really. But yeah, what it did is activated the fat cells, causing the hair follicles to regrow in that area, and they're looking to bring it out as an over-the-counter treatment. Because I mean, if it's just fatty acids, then it's probably going to be GRAS, right? I would imagine, wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. The way they're fucking going, everything's grass.
Well, actually, though, but
Your ass is grass.
yeah, fair.
You can smother people with that right there, and they generally recognized as safe.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that shit. I don't know. So I want to dive into this a little bit.
Sure.
So we're having a kid, right? And so this means I got to reevaluate a lot of my positions on things, and a lot of this stuff hasn't changed. So I dug into the vaccine thing quite a bit, and it turns out that they're pretty safe in general. Now, mRNA vaccines will never go into my child because that's a whole
Probably
different
smart.
technology, right? It's like that's not what we're gonna do. But the mRNA, the MMR, the Tdap, DTaP, all that stuff's safe. Now, typically, my wife and I don't do flu vaccines. She took a flu vaccine. She's been sick for like 3 to 5 days after doing that. So, you know, that's a pretty common thing with flu vaccines. We don't take flu vaccines because they're not particularly useful. But you know, I've got a ton of people that I know that have major health complications, and we don't. And I don't think we live a crazy healthy lifestyle. At least, you know, I'm not. There are people who go far deeper into the weeds in this shit than I do. But I really think that the GRAS or the generally recognized as safe thing for medicine, for foods, is a huge fucking mistake. right? It's a huge mistake that we have turned around and said, hey, yeah, we don't have any actual documentation that it does harm, uh, and so therefore you can add it. Like, I don't have an issue with people adding food coloring or any of those things in principle, but I don't think that we should just accept it as it's kind of safe because we haven't tested it extensively. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
No, you make a valid point. I mean, there's so much of this that's just no, it's cool, go for it. And
Yeah.
and really that's kind of it's very flippant at a minimum, you know? It's not there is so much in the world today that we don't know about. Like asbestos, it's fine. Just, don't eat it. Well, now we know. You definitely don't eat it, but also don't breathe it. But I've got a little bit of an update for you. So this is something you'll be wanting to keep an eye on, as a new parent potentially. And if I can say words, hospitals are now reclassifying their vaccines and vaccination programs as biogenics and putting that in your consent forms. And maybe you didn't want to get this or that. Well, that's a vaccine. So now it's not a vaccine. And they can just give it to you. So we've got a whistleblower from where? So the biogenics list of approved things includes, you guessed it, gene therapies. So, but beyond that, vaccines, gene therapies, monoclonal antibody treatments, whole blood, plasma blood, platelets, red blood cells, stem and T cells, growth factor, allergenics, antitoxins, recombinant proteins, hormone replacement therapies, immunotherapies, and Botox? Really? Okay. But that would be the FDA list of approved biologics and biogenics, which is kind of a little troublesome. I don't like the dishonesty in that. You really need to be straightforward with people when it comes to their health and the health of their loved ones, their children, and that sort of thing. People need to be able to make the right decision.
This is a classic case of really smart people making decisions for other people. Nobody's in the wrong here in the most extreme sense, right? Like, nobody's intentionally doing something bad.
Well,
but it is
other than Fauci and some of his friends.
Well,
but yeah,
he's a separate case.
But I get what you're saying, though.
Right, like it's just not. I understand why they're doing what they're doing. I disagree with it. I think it's not the morally correct way to go about things. But I also understand that, like, they don't. The doctors don't want people who are uninformed or, in their opinion, uninformed, right? Making decisions that would negatively impact them.
May I remind, dear listener, that uninformed doctors can include doctors who had to be informed by our show about the way that things actually function. So be mindful of such things. We have more than anecdotal evidence of that, sadly.
Yep. I mean, and this is one of those problems that you run into. Like, the games that they played during COVID are hugely detrimental to all of science communication because they chose to. They basically decided to ignore everyone who disagreed with them, assume everything's safe, and then when it turned out that it wasn't quite as safe as they thought it was, they lied about it. And this didn't go over very well.
Well, it's tarnished their reputation for at least a generation.
Well, I don't know. Again, a lot of
let's be real. It has tarnished. I didn't say it's been ruined. I didn't say it's irrevocable, but
fair.
They are not
there's
trusted like
a
they would
whole
ever have
lot
been.
of like science took a lot of damage from climate. Science took a lot of damage from this. The age of postmodernism is a very unfortunate thing, and we deserve what we created because technical experts who step outside of that role and decide to engage in and the technical experts that decide to not engage with the substance of the material, but instead to, you know, proselytize. It devalues your actual, when things matter.
Well, yeah, it makes you come off, as you say, when you proselytize, it makes you come off as a religious person, not a scientific person, not a rational person.
Right.
And too, obviously, we've got Christian listeners. I mean, no offense by that, obviously, but rationality versus spirituality, it just is what it is. As said. But let's hop over to another interesting, as a matter of fact, a fascinating piece of news. I believe I read about this some time ago. Let me see if I'm reading this exactly right here. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if I'll be able to explain this quite right. Let me see if she's got a good one. Yeah, okay. I do think I'm understanding this correctly. So, neat. Oh, yeah, my new phone arrived, which is awesome. Anyway, beyond that, U.S. has been working on a membrane technology. I've seen it implemented in water desalination, which the long and short is basically it's a sieve that salts can't fit through, but water and minerals smaller than salt molecules can. So it would be kind of a purely mechanical process of desalinating ocean water. This is apparently that same technology implemented in a much, much more fascinating way. In this case, for the extraction and utilization of rare earth metals. So, out of Austin, Texas, I'll just read the article here. A more efficient and environmentally friendly approach to extracting rare earth elements that power everything from electric batteries, blah, 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 blah. New method developed by researchers at the University of Texas at Austin allows for separating and extracting these in-demand elements where it's not possible today, opening up new avenues of gathering rare earth elements amid global trade tensions. Let me pause that for a second and go back into what I was saying, because the Earth's oceans contain a wealth of gold. It's just a matter of getting it out. And any way that we would do it now, cracking all that water, that's worlds of energy. But anyway, rare earth elements, the backbone of advanced technologies with extraction and purification, are energy intensive and extremely difficult to implement at the scales required, said Manish Kumar, professor of the Cockrell School of Engineering's Faribault Massey Department of weird name for a place in Austin, at the Cockrell School of Engineering's Faribault Massey Department of Civil, Architectural, and Environmental Engineering at the Makeda Department of Chemical Engineering. So many departments. Anyway, our work.
If we're going to talk about rare earths, what people got to understand is what makes rare earths difficult to separate. So you have 8 valence electrons. This is your hydrogen, helium. That's your first 2 essentially, and the columns that they go down when you look at the periodic table. That's kind of what you have there, and then you have 6 other valence electrons in your piece of orbital, and that's generally, you got your first 2, hydrogen and helium, and then you got like sodium or lithium and sodium. I think it's lithium sodium or lithium beryllium. It might be lithium beryllium. Either way, then you got a span of about 6 on the right hand side of the table, going down. The 8 valence electrons are what participates in bonding. That's pretty much all of your chemical bonds whatsoever. So if you want to start, if you really want to start collecting the metals, which have d suborbitals, right? Most everything is bonding with their S&Ps. But if you want to start collecting your metals, they have d suborbitals, and you got to basically use, you know, hydraulic methods of extraction. You want to start talking about your rare earths, they have f suborbitals, and that's a really crazy difficult thing to separate those from the other thing, because they look no different than the other elements that they are, right? So they'll be in a group that's all basically looks exactly, from a chemical perspective, like, sodium, right? Or I guess not sodium, probably more like lithium.
Well, yeah,
But
but whatever. Yeah.
whatever it is, right? They look like something else from a I mix compound A and compound B together, and they react just about the same. And so to separate them out is actually quite a bit of work. Like, it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. As it's saying here in the article, it's very energy intensive.
Yep.
Which, yeah. To cut a long story short here, research was published out of ACS Nano. They've developed membrane channels, channels that are in a membrane that they've created that says that they mimic the selective transport mechanisms of transport proteins in biological systems. Each channel allows only ions of certain characteristics to pass through and blocks certain others. So just the last paragraph, this first one here, pretty much sums up what you'll need to know and what kind of makes it make sense for me. The researchers' artificial channels use a modified version of a structure called a pilarine to enhance their ability to bind and block specific common ions while transporting specific rare earth ions. The result is a system that can selectively transport middle rare earth elements such as a europium and terbium, while excluding other ions like potassium, sodium, and calcium. So again, sodium, like you said, that these things that would just appear, that would otherwise appear very similar and be very hard to break out, kind of just sieve out in this case. Now, for this, it's just these specific middle earth elements, or middle rare earth elements, but nonetheless, it opens the door to potentially using this technology in the same way with other Earths. I mean, it doesn't seem unfeasible.
If they have a legitimate way to significantly reduce the energy requirements, or like the really rare compounds that are required to make rare earth separations like possible, it really opens up a massive playing field, because this is one of the things that China's dominant in, right? So rare earths require very, very unpleasant chemicals to get those kinds of separations.
Very.
And so
that's why
the US
basically
is
everybody's pawned it off on China.
Like, we have plenty of rare earth mineral mines and
there was another one, even
like
just, I think in the past 2 weeks that was found, like some deposit of something else. Yeah.
Yep. Like, it's all over the place in the U.S. It's all over the place, all over the world. Like, they call it rare earths, but they're really not that rare earth.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, they're rare in that we don't really have access to them.
Well,
it's like they're there.
No, I mean there's less of them compared to other things.
Well,
but they're not. It'd
be like aluminum in the days that we could only get aluminum by getting it chemically, as opposed to once we started cracking it out with electricity, and then that changed everything.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Well, best analogy I can give, you know.
Like they are rarer than like iron, but they're not at the quantities that we need to use. They're pretty abundant all over the place. It's not as, it's not a gold type scenario where it's only available in certain veins and certain concentrations, and takes a lot to mine. But in any case, the rare earths are really brutal to chemically separate from themselves, and so one of the only countries that has, while the West has decided to say, hey, we're going to go protect our environment, China said, we don't need to protect our environment. And so they basically do all the rare earth processing for everybody in the world.
Indeed they have.
So if they've got a means and a method that isn't as environmentally destructive, where they can start separating out the rare earths from other materials or rare earths from themselves, that is a huge potential win for geopolitics.
Absolutely. Well, and it gives us the access to what we've been sitting on this whole time.
Correct.
Because
So,
realistically, we could go in and get it, but then we're going to be doing all the shit that everybody complains at China. Well, not all the shit that we're not as bad as they are about some things, but you know what I'm saying. We wouldn't be getting those environmental complaint issues related to that. We'd be getting plenty of other ones, I have no doubt. But
so I knew when I was in the thorium stuff, there was a guy that was there attending the thorium energy conferences, and the reason that he was attending them was because he had significant rare earth material stakes. But rare earths also tend to be where this is your actinide series and your lanthanide series. There's a lot of radioactive elements in that series,
okay.
and so processing them, just the act of processing them, exposes radioactive material.
Hmm.
And so uh, one of the things that this guy was hoping to get out of the thorium conference was a way to like divert the radioactive portions of his processes
Hmm.
and send that out so that he didn't have to deal with it anymore.
Oh yeah, because I mean, let's be real. If you encounter radiation in your process and you're trying to do any business in America, you have just opened a monster of a can of worms.
Yep.
Oh, but speaking of monstrous cans of worms, we should probably head on back to some folks we were talking about just a minute ago. And in this case, it's not just Bill, but it's the whole foundation that he and Melinda founded. So they are now under investigation for millions of dollars funneled to various interesting places. One, for instance, oh, I don't know, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, for instance. So out of Chuck Grassley's office here, we have, according to recent reports, Gates Foundation, through grants and direct payments, have funded the Chinese Communist Party and its allies. I am writing today to ask you whether these reports are true or not, and, if true, how your organization's conduct comports with 501c3 requirements, etc., etc. Anyway, so that's directed at the Gates Foundation, so this is going to be another fun one to keep an eye on. Now, this is preliminary stuff. They're just being brought in for questioning and everything. But I'll just read you the bullet points here. For Congress and the American public to better understand how the Gates Foundation is complying with tax laws governing nonprofit organizations, please provide answers to the following questions no later than November 10th, 2025. So, dang, we probably won't be able to record by the time they've got that out. Oh, well. Anyway. Are the reports that the Gates Foundation funded Chinese government projects and initiatives, including potentially Belt and Road Initiative projects, accurate? Please explain. 2. How many foreign projects has the Gates Foundation funded in the last 5 years? Did any of these projects provide direct or indirect funding to foreign governments? Please provide a list of projects and provide all records. 3. When determining whether or not to fund projects and initiatives in a foreign country, what criteria does the Gates Foundation use to make that decision? Provide all records. 4. Did the foreign organizations the Gates Foundation has awarded grants to provide an IRS determination letter that it is a, quote, recognized exempt organization? Or did the Gates Foundation obtain an equivalency determination from a qualified tax practitioner? If so, provide the IRS determination letter or equivalency determination for each organization. If neither an IRS determination letter nor an equivalency determination were provided, what procedures has the Gates Foundation put in place to exercise expenditure responsibility consistent with IRS 4945H? Provide all records. 5. Have any of the expenditures the Gates Foundation made to foreign organizations resulted in a tax under IRC 4945 or IRC 4942? Provide all records. Well, I don't know what specifically those statutes are, but the important part is that these are some very deep level questions. And they're going to lead to a lot more questions, depending on if they are answered with yes. And I have a feeling, I have a very distinct feeling that they are, because if I'm not mistaken, there is some Gates funding tied in with EcoHealth Alliance. And at this point, everyone knows who EcoHealth Alliance is. And if for some reason one of our dear listeners needs a reminder, Peter Daszak and EcoHealth Alliance are one of the reasons that COVID made it out of the laboratory it was in and into the one in Wuhan. So it is a small world, after all, one might say. And in another fun story, because it's important that we have, good and or fun stories before we call it a night. I know my man Steve here will have to jet shortly. We've got an update of from the Vend man himself, a Mr. Eugene Vendman, one of the heroes of the COVID era, as you know. Let me just read from his erudite explanation of how the world works, circa April 29th, 2022. Proud of the prosecution team at Aberdeen Proving Ground, securing a first-in-the-nation conviction at court-martial of a lieutenant who failed to obey lawful orders re-COVID mitigation measures, guilty on all 3 counts, #order and discipline. Well, out of the Gateway Pundit, Army Lieutenant who was court-martialed for refusing COVID-19 shot granted full reinstatement and retroactive promotion after Undersecretary of War steps in to fix slow proceedings. Whap. So, your big win, Gene. Your big get. You got him. Boy, didn't you got him. Didn't you do it? That was your court-martial, buddy. Fuck you. Fuck you, Eugene Vendman. You got it coming. You earned that one. Earned it so well. So, yeah, yet another service member vindicated for having a reasonable position and choice. Go figure. Oh, but on the notes of firings and such, we've actually got something else. As I told you, there were a bit of a few layoffs there. Well, there were some other layoffs too. As a matter of fact, it's CBS News. Can you imagine? They have canceled CBS Mornings Plus and CBS Evenings Plus. Oh no! So I will remind, dear listeners and or viewers, that that's 2, baby. That's 2. We beat CNN Plus. We beat CBS Plus. Boosh. And Paramount Plus isn't standing too damn well either. We're about to beat them out. The Fake Untitled podcast reigns supreme. Always. Top in the sector. Top in the field, by God. But to quote, one CBS News staffer was describing the cuts as a, quote, bloodbath. And and most tragically of all, that the race and culture unit was, quote, gutted. I know. Perish the thought. Knock me over with a feather. Whoever could have seen it coming. And honestly, who more deserving? What better exemplars of journalism than that can we ask for, really? It makes the heart sing. Ay. Oh, man. Okay, so let me see here. What's that other thing? Oh, yeah, there's that big pit in New York City. They're going to build something next to it. 2 World Trade Center. Yeah, there's still just a big fucking pit and an empty field there. So we'll see if the Palisades take as long as that or not, right?
I guess.
Oh, something else funny happened. Of course, there's the DOJ weaponization. I don't know if it's a bureau, but like a working group or whatever, and a czar that was added to that. Of course, that fellow's name, Ed Martin, Eagle Ed Martin, as some say. Well, anyway, he's been reviewing that as the weaponization czar. He's been going over all the DOJ records and what kind of things they were up to, and he found himself on a list, an enemies list that was distributed amongst the Biden DOJ and FBI. And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, there is actually a picture of the moment that he spots his own name. And just perfect. So there has been such malfeasance at the DOJ and the FBI, and I'm going to be honest, probably at least since Clinton's era, it's just ramped up, and old Barry really just kicked the whole fucking thing into overdrive, and as well, on that note, I should probably mention old Don Treasy himself has said that the ringleader of all of this was in fact Barack Obama, and that there may be some comeuppance with that. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Wouldn't mind seeing it a damn bit.
I mean, the real question is there any actual evidence associated with it being Obama, or is it just that Trump doesn't like Obama?
That's a good question. He's stated as much, but we'll have to see what actually goes through, what investigations occur. I would like things to happen more quickly, but I am seeing things happen. Not specifically certain lists with certain names that belong to certain rich child traffickers. Cough. But beyond that, I am seeing action happen, and I do like that. And I understand that it is a slow process in a completely infiltrated and corrupted system to clean said system, if it even can be fully cleaned. So I get it, but still, I want more. I mean, because to say I've been subjugated all my life is kind of an overstatement, but from a technical standpoint, it legitimately isn't. But again, as I've been saying all night, it is what it is. So here we are. So I guess one of the biggest takeaways is that despite how dark some things might seem, even with all the bad news over this past week, I've been able to kind of back and forth good news and bad news. I mean, we're seeing genuine change. We're seeing grassroots movement on issues that you couldn't even talk about before. There's a very, very real shot that Jersey goes red despite everything. That's fucking wild.
Well, if it does, that'll be a profound moment for the Dems.
And, oh man, if that goes through and Mom Donnie takes it, Jersey is gonna do gangbusters. They are gonna... It's gonna be very interesting to see. I sincerely hope Citarelli takes it home, because he has every chance to do so, even with the entirety of that system working against him. So, Godspeed, Jack. I genuinely hope you can. But, what else have we got here? Man, you could find him easy enough, but even though it is the dawn of the first day, the sun has not yet risen, and we are already seeing not exactly looting. Well, yeah, I guess no shit. It is. Well, not mass looting, but individuals that are loading up their shopping carts and loading up a couple bags and just kind of skedaddling right out the door of your local Walmart or your local what have you. So
I look forward to it.
it has
Again,
begun.
I think the one there's like a few arguments that really blew my mind when I was a progressive that I didn't think were particularly great arguments. And one of them was that we need to provide welfare to people so that they don't go steal shit. And I was kind of like, so we need to have the government take from us so that other people don't take from us. I would much rather turn around and, you know, eliminate the
Yeah, how
system
about I
as
stop
is,
them from
be
taking
well
from me and
armed.
you don't take from me either? How about that?
Right, exactly. Like this is a self-correcting problem in a very short period of time. Self-defense eliminates 90% of this issue.
It does. Or, if you want to take a tropical approach to the situation, a la El Salvador. It's it's a problem that has a solution. You can allow it to self-correct, or you can correct it from the top. You can actually
Yep.
do either, and it'll work. On that note, too, a quick update. Bukele is working to ease restrictions on access to guns and related human rights issues in El Salvador. So, man, more power to you. And in kind of not great news, but maybe good news, Lula and Demoraes have a thing coming up in Brazil, UN climate something. So they've decided that they're going to pull a Newsom and clean up the streets. Dozens of people are dead by now in crossfire and conflict all over Rio and across Brazil. So yeah, when the foreign paymasters are coming, you got to make sure things look nice for them. Just like when she came to San Francisco, there was not a turd to be found. No, sir, not one that old Xi could see.
Yep.
It just goes to show you their priorities. They know full and well that these problems can be resolved too, because they fix them when they have a reason, but only when they have a reason that they feel is adequate. What has the world come to? Well, it's come to this.
At least Newsom was honest about it.
I am seeing some surprising levels of honesty. Oh, just a quick note too before we close out the show. New anti-Semitic dog whistle has appeared. Everyone needs to be aware so that you don't accidentally commit a Kristallnacht or a Holocaust. As you're walking down the road, what have you.
Don't ever sit there and call out Craig, because that's just a Holocaust waiting to happen.
Okay, well, don't ride the roller coasters, folks. Don't ride the roller coasters. You don't want to be ejected into. I'm not going to get this show canceled. So, as I was saying, this newest anti-Semitic dog whistle is Joy Division. Just that. Joy Division T-shirts are now anti-Semitic dog whistles. So,
What is Joy Division?
new wave band from late 80s. Pretty good band too, actually. I rather like Joy Division. But what's his name? Anthony Albanese, PM out of Australia. Well, let's hope. Anyway, Anthony Albanese was wearing a Joy Division T-shirt, and so news companies did what they do, and were journalists. So awful, and called it an anti-Semitic dog whistle. So like if somebody was wearing a New Order, New Order, right?
No.
Okay. So like if somebody was wearing a Cure shirt, same era, and similar kind of audience. It'd be like if somebody was wearing a The Cure shirt. saying that that's some sort of anti-Semitic dog whistle. That's where we are, basically. So things are very silly, very, very, very silly. Let me see. I know I've got one other thing. I swear I do. Let me see here. There's the. That's not a good story, but I will throw a link in here because somebody's done a big dig into what happened with FedEx and their headquarters in Collierville, which we've spoken on briefly. Basically, they got infiltrated and fell apart. But I'll throw a link in there for the story because it's a really great deep dive. So, just kind of give that a look. This one is from an author, and I was unaware. So I am going to be doing some publishing in the near future, and I will be avoiding publishing in ebook format on Amazon because I did not know this. If you buy an author's ebook on Amazon, they will know what you've done with it if you've bought it and never read it or opened it, and they will hit the author for that. So on top of taking their cut, which I think Amazon's 50%. So on top of their cut,
I don't think it's that high. I thought it was a lot less than that.
For ebooks, just ebooks. It might be 30, but I swear I think it's 50. Because they do everything. Because they'll make up cover art for you and the whole shebang. Or it might be like 32.50 depending on what your options you choose. But you get what I'm saying. So on top of their fees that they already take, they're going to also hit the author if you don't read the book. So if you're one of those folks that you like somebody, you like me, you like the stuff I do whenever I publish. You're like, oh, I'll pick that up off of Amazon to throw a couple of bucks his way and show folks that he's got another person reading his books. Well, if you didn't open it up and read it, then it will end up hurting the person that you tried to assist, which is really unfortunate, in my opinion. But anyhow, that's not the best news. Let me see here. I know I've got some good news somewhere in here, hiding somewhere. Oh yeah. That's right. Oh, we already covered that one. Dang. And the Virginia Universal Background Check thing, that's out. Man, I know I've got a. Oh yeah, the Halo stuff. I don't think I've seen much reporting on that outside of our circles, but it is worth mentioning. What's happened is basically 3 out of 5 of the old school Halo devs, the old school Bungie guys, have come out, and one of them, the music creator, is running for Senate. Definitely look him up. Give him your support. He is supporting the Halo memes of Homeland Security. But also Jamie Greismer they've just come out and been quite clear, as well as I think a couple of other devs on the original dev team, that their game's right wing, and the right wing memes, they don't mind, they endorse them. As a matter of fact, let me just read from his tweets here from about 4 days ago. But also, the left has been driven so insane that this tactic is going to work. I fully expect, actually, the Flood were the real heroes of Halo within the next week. Followed by, the real Gravemind has never been tried. Which, either one of those is going to be a little bit of a Halo nerd thing, but it's funny if you get it. But yeah, I mean, just crazy stuff. We're in weird times. But it would appear that the vibe shift is real. When's the last time, like we're saying at the beginning of the show, when's the last time you saw this level of infighting among black people about EBT and personal responsibility? I love this. That community has needed to police itself for ages, and to see it finally happening, for whatever reason, is excellent. I mean, white people, Asian people, I know are very good about this. Arabs are not so good about it, is what it is. But, to see people being responsible, doing the right thing, calling out, people in their communities that are genuinely doing the wrong things, I'm happy to see it. Simple as that. Oh yeah, unfortunately the daylight savings thing didn't happen, so maybe they'll fucking put it through again before it goes away. I hope. I want this shit done with. It's annoying. Anyway, I think that's about it. Is there any other cool shit I wanted to mention? Eh, yeah, not really. Not. Oh yeah. There is one more. But was there anything else you were wanting to cover before we call it a night, my man?
No, I mean I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about that Witcher article that I linked.
Yeah, go for it, brother.
That was rather interesting. So anybody who's a fan of the Witcher series, or actually let's start with whoever just doesn't know what it is. So The Witcher is a series. It's a Polish series, and it's actually pretty spectacular. There's a handful of IPs that exist that are amazing, and they accomplish a lot, right, with the time that they're allotted. And The Witcher is in that vein. It brings in Germanic folklore, or I guess Slavic folklore is probably more accurate. Um, Makes it accessible. It's a well written story, morally gray, just kind of like ideal. And they produced a Netflix series with it, and they basically said, yeah, we're gonna go do whatever the hell we want. And they just recently released an article saying fans need to kind of uh, get over the fact that this is not the books and it's not the video games, and it's just this other non-canon thing that is okay. And they said something along the lines of, here it is that Netflix paid a lot of money for the intellectual property rights to make this thing into a movie. And the person who's the showrunner basically came out and said, well, you can't just do Monster of the Week episodes on TV anymore, right? Which is ironic because that was most of what the 90s was. But on top of that, um, on top of you not being able to do Monster of the Week episodes or whatever the hell, um, they took a whole bunch of liberties with the IP, and people shouldn't be mad that they took liberties with the IP. And you're like, well, if they are, the fans aren't the ones who are wrong. So it was rather interesting to watch this whole entire, like, they're already in cope mode because they kicked out Cavill, who was a big fan of the books, or he was a big fan of the games, and that translated into him buying and loving the books. He's a fucking hyper nerd, which makes him awesome. Um, and so he went out and he did his hyper nerd thing, and he tried to sit there and like maintain story integrity.
Oh
And
no,
here you
God
have the
for fucking
showrunner,
bid.
yeah. And here you have the showrunner coming out and being like, yeah, we couldn't just choose to tell a story that's a series of these different short stories. No, we just had to go invent our own thing.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not working well for him.
So I've heard. Apparently the new guy's not quite the hot stuff they've talked so well about.
Well, I mean, I didn't think it would ever be like the hot stuff, right?
Well,
Like,
let's be real. They've been talking a big game about their new showrunner or their new guy. And it's not, it's at best a flash in the pan at this point. At best.
well, they chose to get rid of Cavill, and it's kind of funny because I think The Witcher is the first, the like wokeness, get woke or broke. I think it's the first really strong thing where they turned around and they decided not to listen to the audience. They decided they were going to do their own thing, and they had The Witcher, and then they had The Witcher Blood and what is it, Blood Origin? I think that's what they called it.
Sounds right.
And Blood Origin was, they had the ancillary lore. It's the same thing as Amazon's Rings of Power,
Oh
where
yeah.
they basically bought the rights to the Silmarillion equivalent of Andrei Sapolsky's work, and so they wrote their own fucking story, and they got to do whatever the fuck they wanted because it's just a bunch of background lore, and and that went really terrible. So you have this thing where they've sat there and they've gotten to make everything that they wanted, and I think they were trying to prove that it would be really successful without Cavill, and turns out it wasn't.
Yeah, it
Turns out it
looks like he kind of had a heavy hand in making it what it was.
he does seem to have mattered more than others.
Go figure. The nerd that obsessed about the source material, and you got rid of him, and there you go. How about that? Very funny. Very funny indeed.
Yep.
Well, anyway, to close out the night with something funny, we have a tweet from Cracker Barrel in reply to Wall Street Mav saying, wait, they're really attaching a Cracker Barrel to the East Wing? Of course, Cracker Barrel quote tweeting that. You probably don't want us anywhere near a remodel. So they've definitely got better people on their PR team now than they had before. Very smart. Very wise. And another funny thing that happened just in the past few days, since, we are talking about the Hassan thing, and this is absolutely hilarious. His alleged girlfriend, Valkyrie, was called the female Hassan. And, you can just watch her face drop and the smile just fades. And she puts her hands down in her face and her face down in her hands and is just... It's unbelievable. Even his girlfriend feels bad about this shit, so bad that she doesn't even want the comparison. Like, damn, man, you have messed up now, or what is it? What's the term they say? You have fucked up now. Now you have fucked up. Good times, good times. So anyway, Bill, I hope that the poo water was worth it. I hope it was delicious to prove to us all that climate change will, quote, will not lead to humanity's demise. So, golly gosh, with that, I think that's about it. Was there anything else I was going to cover? Nothing really comes to mind offhand. So, beyond that, oh yeah, there is one thing that I will do, because the people that listen here, I would want to have access to such tools. Someone has made a thing called foodsearch.net. It's like an AI parser for food banks and just kind of related helplines, volunteer drives, as much information as can be parsed related to getting your necessities in your area. It's basically like a food resource lookup. And I'll throw, that'll be the last link at the bottom there for anybody who's made it this far or makes it this far and wants to share it with somebody, because I would legitimately hate to think that anyone in my audience had to deal with something terrible because people are being shitty. So, Godspeed, folks. Godspeed. Thank you all for tuning in. Really does mean the world to me. This is a good year for us. We're making waves. Biggest show in the sector. Small sector, but by God, we're growing it. So, brother, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, listening and or viewing and or, I don't know, remote viewing, or however you're tuned in. Appreciate you being here. You all have a great night and a great week. I'm Evan, at That Fake Guy Dan. You can find my man Steve here at Ratman720. Craig, not here. We'll be quiet about this. You can find him at CraigBob99. Okay, so he probably didn't hear that. We're probably safe. So, everybody be good. All my love. See you again real soon. Be safe out there in the world, especially in this coming week. It's going to be interesting.